way you actually brought out the Mustang.
Guys,
You brought out the Mustang.
I'm bringing the Mustang back for 2021.
But is it going to get complete, or are you just going to leave it outside and let it just get destroyed by the weather?
Well, see, what happened was I messed up on the frame.
I don't think you only messed up on the frame. I think you messed up on the whole thing. Where's the original car at, though?
That was just a prototype. This is the actual.
Oh, okay.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're actually bringing back my 1966 Ford Mustang. As you guys seen in the previous video, I did a couple updates on it, and it was kind of just sitting outside because we did run into a lot of issues with this car. For instance, the frame, we did have a lot of issues with the frame. I was actually just trying to build it off the back of my head. I was just going with the flow, and I kind of messed it up, and I was redoing a lot of stuff, and it just really did not work out at all. Some of the stuff turned out pretty good, but a lot of it is not. And then we also had a bunch of issues like underneath the hood. Let me take this hood off real quick. Lift it up. As you can see, guys, there's really no room back there for a brake booster or anything like that. And the suspension on the 15 Mustangs, they have like the strut assemblies, and the older school Mustangs, they have like a dual wishbone, or I think it's like a single wishbone, and there's really not enough space over here for freaking anything. So we're gonna have to actually redo all that, and I do have a solution for all that. What I'm planning on doing is getting some Corvette Z06, either Z06 or regular Corvette suspension, front and rear subframe, because everything is a lot lower, and it has like a fiberglass leaf spring, I think, because if you look under here, this is basically where the brake booster would have to go, and there's really no space right here because of this big old strut tower. And once we get the Corvette suspension, it's pretty much going to eliminate all of this, and it's just going to be straight up down here, and it's just a lot easier to set up. It's actually only like 4 bolts. This Corvette has the subframe going from the bottom, and has 4 bolts for the lower control arm and then 4 bolts for the upper control arm, and it's going to be a lot simpler than this 2015 Mustang. But the frame on this car is actually pretty sturdy. When I was jacking it up, it didn't flex or anything like that. But honestly, guys, we are probably going to end up redoing the entire frame. As you can see, I kind of did some Bob the Builder work over there, and it doesn't look too good. Plus, with all these tubes and everything, it kind of just did not make sense, because I was kind of just going with the flow, trying to do my own thing, and it didn't really work out. But the cool thing is I got to learn. I learned a lot of stuff, and I learned how to like build stuff, and it's really my first project. But what we're really actually going to do is pretty much tear this entire frame off and probably just scrap the frame. Maybe we'll get a couple dollars in scrap. That'll buy me a cheeseburger so we can, you know, start on a new frame. And one of the problems with the rear suspension was the actual track of the 2015 Mustang rear suspension is a lot wider. And what I'm thinking we're gonna have to do is, once we get the Corvette suspension, we might cut it and shorten it a little bit, because I don't really want to do like a wide quarter panel on the car. I want to kind of still make it a little bit stock looking. So yeah, guys, pretty much on this old frame, I kind of didn't really go through everything. I was kind of just going with the flow and trying to make stuff work. But this time I want to actually sit down. I'm probably going to get some design programs, start designing the entire frame. Plus, we do have our plasma table, which we will be using a lot on this new project. And pretty much I want to get this car done in approximately 2 months. So I think we can probably do that as long as we get most of the parts. All we really need right now is the Corvette suspension. We can go ahead and redo the frame rails. I'm actually thinking about getting somebody to custom bend me some frame rails, just so we don't have to deal with all the extra stress of that. And then we can go ahead and start fabbing everything up. We got to get some rims. So pretty much this time we got to just do a little bit more planning. But I mean, it was awesome. We got to try, well, I tried to fix it. Well, no, I didn't try to fix it. I tried to build my own stuff, and it kind of failed. But honestly, you can't really look at it as a fail. It was just an attempt, because there's no success without failure. You know, if you don't know what if you've never tried something, then you don't know if you can do it. And I mean, here it is. I mean, it kind of sat outside for like the past 6 months, you know, because we got the McLaren in there, and that thing is pretty much almost complete. We are just waiting on the filters for the paint booth. I think they're like a month out, which kind of sucks, but due to like the COVID, and they kind of slowed everything down. Guys, the body is all still in pretty good shape. I mean, there is a little bit of surface rust. It's nothing a little wire wheel can't take off, and there is a couple spots where a bird decided to mark its territory, which I don't know what we're going to do with that. We might have to replace the roof or something, get a new part. Nah, I'm just kidding, guys. We'll probably just wipe all that off. But the plan for this car is pretty much, I want to rip everything back apart, and I actually want to build like a custom table that I can actually build the car on, because as you guys know, I was building it on the lift, and it was just really hard to move. And I was watching a lot of people that build custom cars. They have like a nice table where they set the car on, and then you can kind of just build everything together. And this time I want to do a lot more measuring, a lot more planning, and pretty much try to get this car done in the next month or two. Just straight up just finish it, because this is one of the cars that kind of blew up my channel. I remember when I first started, everybody was so excited, and then I just got kind of burned out with it because it was a lot of work. And you know, I got a lot of hate comments. There was a bunch of people who was being negative, and I honestly thought it wasn't affecting me, but low-key deep down inside it was just like, maybe I should just quit it. But now we're back at it. I mean, I did do some pretty cool stuff on this car. Like the engine bay was supposed to look pretty cool. As you can see, we kind of did all this work right here. There's a custom frame or a custom rebar in the front, and then we actually bolted up a 2015 subframe to the front of it, which is actually going to be removed because we don't really want that subframe, because that suspension is just a little too complex. It's like a newer one. It's almost like a German style design with the wishbones like that. So we're going to get rid of all that, just go with the simpler Corvette suspension, and it's going to give us a lot of room right here. Pretty much we won't have any of these shock towers anymore, so we can put all of our wiring and anything that we need to do. And on that side we'll probably be able to use a brake booster now, because I was planning on using most of the parts from the 2015 Mustang, but now all we're going to do is pretty much just use the engine, transmission, and that's it. I'm going to get a standalone unit for like to start the engine, and a standalone unit for everything else, just so it simples everything down. And then we'll probably get a standalone ECU for the speedometer, so everything is going to be pretty simple. I was kind of making everything way too complicated, trying to use everything from that car, and as you guys can see, it did not work out. So pretty much now, guys, I know exactly what I need to do to get this car rolling, and pretty much all we're going to do is blow this car back apart, take off all the parts we need, probably cut the frame up, throw that thing away because we don't want it. It's probably a death hazard or death trap, as you guys were commenting a while back. But honestly, guys, it's gonna be a lot funner now that we have a bigger and better game plan. Before we get this Mustang inside, I actually want to build a little table, like a fab table, that way we can put the body of the car on there and it'll be kind of suspended in the air. And we do have a little update on the McLaren. As you can see, check this out, guys. You have to buy an entire wiring harness just for 2 plugs. Here's one of the plugs. This is for the door, and then we have this other plug right here is for the headlight. And then we have a couple more plugs that we were missing on the car. I was gonna just buy the plugs separately, but I got a really good deal. For sure, actually hooked me up with the entire wiring harness for this car for only $900. Super awesome deal. And we also did get a windshield for the car too. So if we come over here, we do have a windshield. It's not installed yet. We kind of just put it in there, but check that out. The glass is in, and this car will be done here soon. Now, guys, we're gonna go ahead and head to the steel store and get some metal to build our table. So we made it to the steel store. We're probably gonna grab this second line steel right here because the new stuff is a little bit too expensive for our taste, because all we're doing is just building a table. So we're gonna probably grab a couple pieces of this, and I think it should be fine. It is a little bit rusted, but we can probably just hit it with a wire wheel, clean it up, and weld it together. So guys, we made it back to the shop, and pretty much what I want to do is build a nice 10-foot long table, probably make it like 2-3 feet high, and put some wheels on it so we can roll it around, and then we can put that body on there, and it'll be like a nice awesome jig to like set up all the frame rails, set up the suspension, level everything up, and make it right. entire frame all nice and mocked up. Everything is nice and square and level. And now what we're gonna do is actually weld it together with our new HTP welder. We actually recently partnered up with him and he brought a unit over and I absolutely love the way it welded. So let's go ahead and get this thing set up and weld this thing together. This entire thing all welded up, all the welds look amazing, and I honestly love the way this thing welds. It's the HTP Pro Pulse 220. So if you're in the market for looking for a new welder, make sure you check out HTP. I'll go ahead and drop some links down below. They have welding helmets and welding cars. They have everything, pretty much complete setup, and that thing is amazing. The welds turned out amazing over here. I didn't really do that much prep work, but they still came out really good. Now what we need to do is add 2 more supports, and then we can put our Mustang on here. Guys, we got the chassis jig pretty much all welded together. Now what I want to do is just scuff it down and give it a nice paint coat. So check it out, guys, we went ahead and painted the frame jig. It's completely done. Now what it's time is to get the Mustang and set it up on it. guys.
Oh my god.
Oh, God.
All getting taken apart.
A little bit of rust here and there, but it's all surface rust.
Yeah.
Oh, use before your time, man. Pretty
This thing looks kind of dope though. Honestly, it looks pretty sick.
I mean, it could have worked, but
Could have.
we would just keep it, make it into a little go-kart.
Shoot.
Well, this thing was actually sturdy, dude. It did not want to, like... Yeah, I even made the whole area right there just for a jack point. Some of these tubes, I can still use some of this right here. I don't want to throw it away because, I mean, it's good metal. Especially right now, metal prices have skyrocketed pretty much like everything. But I don't know, guys. I'm honestly thinking about doing tube frame. Maybe do an entire tube frame on that one. Get some chromoly tube, which would probably be pretty cool. But yeah, see, we had a lot of issues going on there. There was a good stopping point. And now that I've put together an entire McLaren, I think a Mustang will be a little bit simpler, maybe. We'll have to see.
Gonna find out. Just gotta sit down and.
Yeah, I want to sit down and do some designing on the computer and, you know, actually figure out how we're gonna do it. Get the motor in there, get everything set up. And then once our Corvette suspension comes in, that's gonna be really nice because it's gonna get rid of pretty much everything. It's pretty much gonna get rid of all this, and it's a lot shorter than this subframe right here. You can see it's a lot taller. The Corvette subframe is literally this big, and then it just has upper control arms and lower control arms, so it's like a dual wishbone. So there's gonna be no need for this right here, which means this entire area right here can pretty much just be empty, and you can just put all the wiring or turbo or whatever we want to do.
So what are you gonna do with the motor now?
We're gonna pull it out, and the good thing is I actually reached out to Holly, and they have a complete standalone system for this car, which means we're not gonna have to use any of this wiring, and we're also not gonna use the electronic steering from the 2015 Mustang, which is gonna simplify a lot of things. Because I think when I was building this car, I'd always be thinking about like all the other stuff, like how am I gonna wire everything up, and it kind of just builds pressure on you, and that's kind of why all this stuff went wrong. So now that we have the entire Mustang disassembled, it's gonna be a lot easier building it on this platform right here versus that lift right there where you had the big old arms for the lift and you couldn't really get in anywhere. And now pretty much all we need to do is set this car back up on here, and then once we get our suspension, we can go ahead and start mocking everything up and get this thing done. Check it out, guys. We just put the Mustang shell up here, and just look how much more room there is to work on. You can work everywhere over here. There's no big old things in your way. Obviously, this isn't fully mounted on this table yet. I want to figure out a way to actually clamp the car down to it so we can get it all nice and secured. And then probably in the next episode, I want to go ahead and start welding the body. We're gonna weld the body together, and then we'll build the chassis around the body, because we actually never welded the body together. We kind of just slapped it together, but I actually want to get all the gaps right, get everything right on the body, get all the measurements right, weld everything together. Pretty much all it needs is the chassis. So guys, that's pretty much gonna be a wrap for today's episode. I'm kind of excited for this build because I remember we did have a lot of problems with that other car, and honestly, I really want to get this car done. It's actually been one of my dream cars for the longest, and it is a 66 fastback, which is one of the coolest Mustangs ever made. But guys, stay tuned. Once we get all the suspension, all that, we'll probably go ahead and order wheels, go ahead and order everything we need so we can get this built on the road. So guys, thanks for watching. We're finally back on the Mustang. If you like this series, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, drop a like. Also follow me on Instagram at VTuned, and check out VTuned.com for some merch.